Things are so bad with the Philadelphia 76ers that even the one guy that has been a bright spot for a majority of the season, the stink is starting to rub off on him, at least for tonight, as we get ready for the All-Star break. Just one more game remaining before the All-Star break, but the stink has now rubbed off on the good guy, that is Tyrese Maxey. We'll get into his performance as we start things off. Rich's three takeaways, the player of the game. A lot to talk about in this one. In game number 53, where the Philadelphia 76ers fall 106-103. Their record now stands at 20-33 with one more game remaining before the All-Star break. Welcome to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And as much as Rich Hoffman, Bree, I'm Devon, Kyle and Derek will join us from the arena a little bit later. As much as, we talk about this season and things being frustrating and, again, the stink that has been this campaign, this guy has been fantastic. First of all, I want to say, everybody, if you're listening and watching, because you turn the car on, you turn us on your phone, but you put the phone down where you're not technically watching us. I do want to say to everyone leaving the arena or wherever you're coming from, make sure you drive carefully out there, because the roads are a little slick as the snow is starting to come down. As you are all in the arena, it's gotten a little more accumulation. So just be careful leaving the arena as you hang out with Rich, Bree, and I here on this Tuesday night. Also want to tell everybody to make sure you go to the PHLY, the All City store, to get some gear, Gold Standard Collection, following the Philadelphia Eagles, I was going to say 76ers championship, Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl victory, and get some great gear there. Again, that's at the All City store, the store.allcity.com. And go get some gear. Go get some Eagles gear. Get ready for the parade. Celebrate your football team. A lot of those guys in the building tonight, and they had to watch that terrible performance and another embarrassing performance from the Philadelphia 76ers. But Rich, do you want to start off with your three takeaways? Because we're going to dive right into all of this nonsense. Do you want to just do that?
I just sent them to Bree, so I'm going to give her a little while.
All right, give us some time. All right.
Bree is Superwoman, but I'm not sure she can even whip up the three takes that quickly, Devon. Look, man, awful, just
terrible.
Awful.
Terrible.
How can you look at this team, this core, the same way after this 3-game stretch, man? Devon, since they got their big three back, and Daryl Morey said, "Oh, I don't think Cleveland will want to play us in a playoff series, and we're going to turn the corner." Here are the 3 games. Here are the 3 games. 13-point loss to the Cade Cunningham, and Cade Cunningham takes all the offensive load for the Pistons. A 13-point loss to them in a game that, as you, Kyle, and Derek chronicled, not that close. They were getting absolutely destroyed at halftime. Defensive effort was the worst I've ever seen. Then an 8-point loss to the Giannis-less Bucks. Again, Giannis Antetokounmpo, a pretty important player. You take him off the Bucks, they are not a very good team. They're small, they're unathletic. 8-point loss just because you can't guard them either. And then, after getting embarrassed that much, Devon, you would think, all right, we're going to come out playing hard against the Toronto Raptors team that is 17-37 on the season. We're going to take it to them, get an easy win in front of our home crowd. No, man, they lost to them. And it's one of those things where there's a lot of people saying, okay, cool, they can tank now. I think this is bigger than that, man. I cannot look at Nick Nurse, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, this whole team. I cannot look at them the same way after such an unserious stretch of basketball. This is awful, man. This is as bad of a stretch as a team has had all year. All season, we talked about, they've only finished 3 games together, the big 3. That was the case probably into January. Who cares? This was such an easy stretch of games, and they are so far behind the 8 ball and playing such bad basketball. It's crazy. Devon, they actually had a good backcourt tonight. We can get to those guys in a little bit, But for the first time all year, they actually had some juice from their backcourt in Jared Butler and Quentin Grimes. Showed some athleticism, showed some dribbling, all that stuff. To lose this game, I know they shot poorly, but I like so bad. And I just feel like this organization, they need like a reality check. Like, this is as bad as it gets. I would argue they are the laughing stock of the NBA right now. This is pathetic. It's so bad, man. And that, they're playing Brooklyn tomorrow night. And, I don't know what Bet365 and our friends there are going to have the Sixers favored by. They shouldn't be favored. Why are they favored against anybody? Their only win since Joel came back was like, they barely beat the Mavericks in a game they easily could have lost down the stretch. This is so bad. And I know I'm just saying that a million times, but I cannot emphasize it enough. Like, that whole organization, from Daryl Morey onto the stars, onto the coach, they should be freaking embarrassed. This is pathetic stuff.
So just to kind of take all of our people, our family here, behind the scenes, a little bit of what we do tonight, the All City team asked for one of us to jump on their live stream as they bounced around to all the games. So I was on with Adam Morris and our good buddy Tim Legler. I was on with Legs, who will be broadcasting the Golden State Sixers game, unless it get flexed out, right, Rich? At the end of the month. And one of the things that Legs said to both of us was, this has been one of the more embarrassing stories of the season, with how things have gone. And now you just lay out the last 3 games. While this is a 4-game losing streak, the 3 games in particular, the 2 against the Detroit Pistons on Friday, Milwaukee Bucks on Sunday. And then we'll get here to tonight with Toronto. And you're 100% right that this is now bigger than they're going to catch up. They're going to get into the play-in. They're going to do this. They're going to be dangerous against the Cavs or the Celtics as the 1 seed if they sneak in. No one will want to see them once they get in there. This is unbelievable for where it is right now. This type of performance through 53 games, and as you pointed out, Brooklyn tomorrow, and who knows what the hell is going to happen tomorrow against the Brooklyn Nets, that this 54 games alone is going to give us 7 to 10 days to talk about how this basketball team has underperformed, has been despicable for a majority of this basketball season, with how they have played, how they have coached, how they have conducted themselves as supposed to be contenders in this league. And with them being that way, we talked about at the very top of the show that, hey, man, again, this is in the pregame, that this is going to be one of those teams where this is going to be a tough out. If they get their guys together, all of that stuff. No, something's wrong. Something is really wrong. And you know what that's going to lead to? Rotten. Yes, makes me think about Curb Your Enthusiasm. I know we don't really want to laugh right now, but
no, we can.
Jeff's dad,
with it, right?
Jeff's dad would always rotten, right? I'll send it to you separately. It's hilarious, but that this is going to lead, Rich, to conversations that are, again, now bigger than what we're seeing right now of what's going on the floor. This is going to lead us to stuff that we do not want to talk about in February, about where this franchise is now headed, whether it's the offseason acquisition that you picked up with Paul George, or Rich, that the conversations are going to start to be had about, is it time for the big fella and all of that stuff? That's where this is going to be headed, because this season has turned into a nightmare of a campaign for this group. We are 53 games into this season. They have 20 wins. And we can count just as many as we can count where they had these close losses and they should have won this game and they should have won that game. You know what, Rich? We were wrong, because they are not good enough. They were not good enough to win those games. And that's exactly why they lost those particular basketball games, because they are not good enough. In the same way that we talked about, hey, they can walk out on the floor and they can think they can beat this basketball team and so on and so forth. They are not that basketball team this season. They have not been it from game 1 in October, and that continues. They have shown us who they are this season this is who they are until they show us otherwise with the, 53 games in the books. So what, they have 29 games now remaining. They have 28 after tomorrow. Until they show us otherwise, and they give me no reason to believe that they're going to show us anything differently than what we've seen through these 53 games, we are going to have a busy, long offseason of how we are talking about this group. And I'd imagine, man, it's going to be some really, really tough, again, discussions of personnel from top to bottom of what needs to be going forward with this group to get this thing turned around, because this is flat out ridiculous. You do not lose to the Toronto Raptors. Legs even said it on that broadcast where I was with Adam and Legs. This is a must-win game for the Sixers. We're talking about right before the break. Rich, in the pregame, we said they need a break. You mentioned how Tyrese Maxey would have been great for him to have a break during this All-Star. I said, yeah, it would have been cool, though, for him to have that All-Star berth for a second consecutive season. They need a break badly. And I don't even know what that is going to do for them, because this team stinks.
I completely agree. You mentioned before the game that the team needs a break, and I thought, okay, the guy who really probably needs a break is Tyrese Maxey. Man, I did not realize how prescient that was going to be. And Bree, if you have the three things available, I think we can probably go to those now. Thank you, Bree. Number one, that is like a completely inexplicable Tyrese Maxey performance, man. And it's so crazy. I think we have to stay with this on the Maxey part. We'll get to 100%. Joel and the backup guards later. Man, he had been playing unbelievable basketball. He'd been playing the best basketball of his career for the past month and a half.
18 straight of at least 25 points for Tyrese Maxey. Snap tonight.
And again, the some of the players change. I feel like Toronto is a team he has particularly lit up in his career, whether it's in the playoffs. I remember he had a 40 ball against them a couple years ago on the road. I mean, man, like he just wasn't involved tonight. It was very strange. He was not getting downhill. And it got to the point where in the fourth quarter, some of the best offense that the Sixers ran all night was Jared Butler and Joel Embiid playing the two-man game. But it's like, where was Tyrese? He wasn't quite as involved, and it was bizarre, man. Like I was not expecting this. He has been so consistently amazing over the stretch. But tonight was like, I don't even know. Like we would be, I think, willing to accept a bad game from him, a down game from him, but to be this invisible in a game that you guys still needed, that's really rough stuff, man. I mean, he didn't make a field goal until the very end. His step back three down the stretch, I believe, to tie the game up with just a few minutes left in the game. Devon, it's more than mad for me with Tyrese. It's just like unfathomable. I'm stunned by how quiet of a performance he had against the team that he really shouldn't have that much trouble with.
Yeah, and I'm not as mad as with him, because yes, look, if he scores 10 points, they win this basketball game. But guess what? It shouldn't even need that, to win this basketball game against this particular group. But so while I am stunned, so I'll say that I agree with you. I'm stunned. I'm not necessarily disappointed in him. He had a bad night. It's funny because right before we got on, I still had the broadcast on where the great Philadelphia legend Mark Jackson, of course, was talking, and I think Amy asked him, or Coach Lynham asked him about. I think it was Coach Lynham, Jim Lynham, asked him, with Trae Young being selected by Adam Silver to take the spot for Giannis in the All-Star game, do you think something like that carries over into a basketball game? And Mark said, you know what, as a player, yeah, because you felt like you deserved that spot and all of that. And then I was thinking, and Mark was in the NBA, so I can't question Mark. I mean, we can go back and forth and have a conversation, but I would also just throw at him, yeah, but wouldn't that also make you drop 40 to remind them that, hey, you should have chosen me and not him?
I mean, so, he mostly has, right? When he initially didn't make the All-Star team, he rattled off like 3 or 4 awesome games in a row.
And that's why I chalk it up to he just had a bad night.
He had a bad night.
Look, we looked at the Eagles again. Thank goodness they won the Super Bowl. They sold out, the Chiefs did, to slow down Saquon Barkley, right? and they dared somebody else to beat them. Jalen Hurts did that, and the rest of the group did that. The way that their coverage was, their defense, and you're great with this stuff too, of how they were playing Maxey with Abaji. He was just in his chest all night long as best as he could, and putting that length in Maxey's face to try to slow him down. They were going to dare a bad knee Joel Embiid, a Paul George first half of the season that we haven't seen anything from, a struggling Kelly Oubre, and everybody else. So you talk about the two guards that were recently acquired in Grimes and Butler, and they were really good. This is what you would want on a team that is playing well, for them to come off the bench and give you that type of production. And they dared them to beat them, and they couldn't. They didn't. And you still get the 33 and 10 from Scottie Barnes and all of that. You get the late. You know who I'm ticked off at? Joel Embiid, for turning that ball over with 8 seconds to go to try to tie the game up. While Maxey struggled, he give you a great pass at the top of the key. Even if you don't hit that three, you get to your spot, hang dribble, knock down that right there, tie the game up, and give yourself a chance potentially in overtime. That's who I'm ticked off at for not doing that part, which he needed to do. So, yeah, Maxey, he struggled tonight. They geared their defense to slow him down. It worked. And the others didn't do enough to win this basketball game, unfortunately, for the Sixers. Now 4 in a row that they have lost.
Well, it feels like, too, you're using the context of the season with Joel, where there's more stuff to complain about with him so far this year. And, I get it. He's hurt, and that sucks. And, that's
you're out there.
Reason why he is struggling. But when you're out there, you got to perform. And Maxey he has been out there, and Maxey has had to play a lot of shorthanded games. But let's be real. The reason they lost tonight was Tyrese Maxey just was not involved enough on the offensive end. Now, and again, you're right. Some of it was the coverage. I thought late in the game, they had Scottie Barnes on Embiid a lot. And it felt like he was basically doubling Maxey, and he felt like he could get back to Embiid in time, perhaps because Joel is not as explosive as he usually is. Still, look, you're a max player. You gotta figure out the coverages. And in fairness, he has done more than over the past month.
Yeah,
but
you're
just
right.
for one night tonight, he is the guy primarily to blame for this game, because he just was not very good. But I agree with you. He's been awesome over the past month and a half. That's why, my main takeaway from it is just I'm stupefied. I didn't even think he was capable of something. And that's why I said that.
I am stunned. And yes, he is really the reason why they lost, because he didn't give him double-digit score, and they win. And we're looking at it saying, man, they got away with this one because he did not shoot it well. He only had 5 points, man. He only took 9 shots. And that last one, does it really, you know what I'm saying? He was fading away. It wasn't really a good shot. He was taking it off a flyby. And the way his night was, he wasn't going to make that shot. No. He wasn't making that one after Gradey Dick made that split the pair there at the end. He wasn't making that shot. So 1 for 9, 1 for 7 from behind the 3-point line in 34 minutes and 3 seconds for Tyrese Maxey. So you're right. Awful performance. But I do stick on that bad turnover.
Where is he hunting Gradey Dick? Gradey Dick, I think I could go by him and score a layup on offense. He's that bad on defense. Come on, man. Start matchup hunting.
I don't disagree.
The biggest problem for me, too, because Joel, we're going to get to him, because I have some deeper thoughts. Not just that
one. Right. Right.
No. Just on how the whole offense has functioned around him this year. Because if you look at the numbers, they're not very good. And it's the whole is less than the sum of the parts on offense. Their best offense this year has been when they are unbelievably small and they have Yabu at the 5. And of course, they can't get anything approaching a stop on the other end of the floor, but they know how to play with Yabu at the 5. Maxey has his driving lanes. Yabu takes a step up. Maybe Kelly gives you some good games there once in a while. The ball's hopping around the perimeter. I honestly thought tonight, I was like, man, I kind of wish they had Butler and Grimes in some of those Yabu at the 5 games. Those could have been wins. Those could have been a little more fun. But when Maxey, Embiid, and PG play together, and I'm going to look up the numbers after we go to break. Sure. It just feels like when those 3 guys are playing offense together, they have not figured it out even a little bit so far. And the blueprint for those guys to win is for them to outscore people. Like, I'm not saying that the defense gets a complete pass, but the way you win with those three guys is by having an overwhelming offense and just guys that, you're scoring 120, 130 every single night. And they're not approaching that. It's so slow. It's so station to station. They don't get the second actions. It just feels like it's just a mess, man. I don't know.
Well, that'll transition us into the Embiid conversation, because when Rich and I did that 6-game homestand together with Bree, and we're all sitting there watching the games in the office, and we're saying, man, they're moving pretty fast, getting up and down the floor, a lot of actions. You see a lot of stuff going on within the half-court set. They pan over with the camera to Embiid and George sitting on the bench, and we said, I wonder what those guys are thinking with this particular style of play working. Well, they've been back, and they've lost 4 in a row. We'll talk about Embiid, what it looked like tonight, and get into the deeper thoughts of the 3 takeaways from Rich Hoffman. Sixers lose 106-103 in game number 53. They are 20-33 on the season with one more game remaining tomorrow, second night of a back-to-back against the Brooklyn Nets. Will it be 5 in a row going into the break? We'll look at that a little bit later, and certainly tomorrow. Sixers fall. We're discussing it tonight right here on the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show, which is presented by Bet365. If they're all banged up, you know what? Look, they're all banged up. All right, great. I got it. You know what? I need, it's the All-Star break. I need to send you guys and go see Rothman. Go get whatever issues, joints aching, hands cramping, back out of whack, terrible knees, all of that stuff. Your shoulder needs to be readjusted. You need massage, whatever. You get your neck checked out. Rothman Orthopedics is the place for them to go. Everyone has a specialty that they love. These guys love the game of basketball, and they're not performing at the highest standard. Joel Embiid fell on the shoulder, had it all twisted up and everything. Maybe he needs to get that checked out. I don't even know if he's going to play in the second night of a back-to-back. But if he needs to get out there on the floor tomorrow and show something to show some fight in this one against the Brooklyn Nets on Wednesday, and he needs to be right, Rothman Orthopedics, they are physicians, are not only specialized in orthopedics and clinical research, but they are fellowship trained to treat specific areas of the body. I just laid out a few of those for basketball players in general. And patients will find the full spectrum of orthopedic care at Rothman Orthopedics, from diagnosis to discharge. They provide their patients with every service and procedure necessary, such as x-rays, orthotics and bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and more. And if you came over to my house, I have this whole bin of just the stuff that I needed for my knee and my ankle. If you ever need it, you just let me know. I'll lend it out to you. And for more than 50 years, Rothman has participated in thousands of groundbreaking research and clinical trials with the goal of advancing knowledge, developing treatments, and improving outcomes for the benefit of their patients. Rothman Orthopedics, they specialize in orthopedics and you and me. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today.
And Devon, now let's talk about our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Did all of that holiday shopping leave you with a credit card balance that is weighing you down? Well, if that's the case, think about this. What if you could pay it off faster and with zero interest until 2026? It's true, because TrueMark Financial is offering zero interest on balance transfers for 12 months. So all of your payments can go toward reducing your balance and not just covering the interest. So here's the play. Transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. But hurry up. You have to apply by February 28th. We're getting close to the deadline. So whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a lower rate for everyday purchases, with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. Visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by NCUA, equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans are subject to approval, and a 3% balance transfer fee applies. Standard rates apply after the promotional rate.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Rich Holy Cannoli in the chat says, I didn't watch the game again, but I'm here for the chat.
I appreciate that, Cannoli. We
you're about to get caught up, man. You're about to get caught up, Holy Cannoli, because that was something. And you got in just at the right time, because Rich is about to lay out number 2, I think, of his 3 takeaways, and that is Joel Embiid.
That was a rough fourth quarter, man. That was that was not great stuff. Yeah, it was bad. And the possession at the end, I mean, man, you just got to take that three. Like you get the wide open three on the pick and pop. He would take that shot 99 times out of 100. And yeah, maybe it wouldn't have gone in, but to dribble it in and then lose the ball, like it just feels like a guy whose rhythm isn't there. So Devon, before we get into kind of what Joel did down the stretch, so we're at 485 possessions on the season with Joel, Tyrese, and PG. They have a 111.3 offensive rating, which is in the 32nd percentile of every lineup, not just the star lineups, not just the over $100 million lineups. No, it's not good enough. It's not even close to good enough. And I think you saw it tonight, even though Tyrese, I think, like deserves a ton of blame for this specific loss. It's just like playing through Joel it's slow, man. It's slow. And I think a huge part of it is the injury, right? Because when you could play through him and he could score one-on-one on anybody with a variety of moves, most specifically just simple power, just HB dive right to the basket, put a shoulder on a guy, he goes flying off you because you're Joel Embiid, and then have that feathery touch. It could work, right? And when he was agile enough to get into the dribble handoff game, it just feels very methodical right now. And whatever half step that he has lost due to his injury and due to that big bulky knee brace on his knee, which I'm sure is slowing him down, it just feels like running the offense through him. He even did some good things tonight too. Like they threw him the ball at the top of the key and he found a way to get to the free throw line a bunch, and he made a few jumpers, and he did some good stuff with Jared Butler in the game. But some of those overwhelming offensive performances that we have seen from the Sixers over the past 3 years, which have been the direct result of Joel Embiid just being a boss and being the best player on the floor by a lot, it just feels a little more methodical. I don't know. They got to figure that out. I don't know what the right answer to that is, whether it's playing through him in a different way, playing through Maxey more, although in fairness, playing through Maxey more tonight, that wasn't going to work. Playing through PG more, I think we know how that will probably turn out over the long run. But it's funny, like even though he played, I think pretty well tonight, he finishes 8 of 19 from the field, 10 of 13, 27 points. You see the 4 assists, but also 4 turnovers. It just feels a little more methodical. And, while I don't think the way he played for most of the game is even in the top 10 things I would blame, it felt like they would just miss a bunch of open threes off of his passes tonight as well. I thought the end, like him flinging up a shot over his head, not even looking at the basket, dude, there's like 3 minutes left. I know you have done that in your career before when you're getting 50 points and sometimes you got to try that crazy shot. But I think it just goes to show A, the lack of athleticism, and B, just like that he doesn't feel that comfortable right now, because that was a weak shot at that point of the game. And of course it doesn't go in. And then he screws up on the final possession.
There's no need to take that type of shot. I mean, so late in the game, and this is where he is again expecting a call from the officials to bail him out. That's normally happening though when you're being physical. Because of, if you want to say it's the knee is not allowing him to be as physical, and especially with the explosion, as we're accustomed to seeing. Yeah, he got to the free throw line tonight. That's a normal night. Well, we're also seeing those normal nights where it's 12, 13, 14, 15 free throws because of the physicality, imposing his will, and forcing them with this, even with the back to the basket, banging into their shoulders or their chests, getting them off their feet, and getting those foul calls. That late in the game, I don't know what the hell he was doing by trying to throw that one up there, having flashbacks of normally getting that call. He wasn't getting that call, Rich, at that spot. They weren't calling it all game. Why would they call it there at that particular spot on that type of play? And you're right. And he did find a lot of guys open behind the 3-point line for some shots, and they missed. That's basketball too, where in the moment, yes, we're frustrated. We watched it. Hey, you guys got to knock those down. They missed those shots. They missed them. But yeah, he wasn't, that fourth quarter specifically, he wasn't good at all. And had he just been more under control, and do those types of things, might have been a way, just a play or two, that would have resulted in a finished basket or some free throws, but either by him or someone else, to get those points on the board. And you're right, man, which is why we brought it up before the break, or I did, in reference to the conversation me, you, and Bree would have in the office of how the pace was when they played without him. And we know that's been the case for his entire career. Whenever you're out there, you speed up the game. But yes, you can clearly see it. It is obvious. Things have slowed down dramatically since he's been back.
Yeah. And look, he's going to have to figure that out. I hope he gets some of that back. If you listen to Daryl Morey on Friday, he's going to get it back. If you listen to Joel on Sunday that he needs surgery, maybe you don't think so. Again, that's where, I mean, the Sixers season, people are going to start asking those questions more and more when you don't play this well. There's one point I wanted to bring up from the chat. It was from Marcus, who is one of our favorite consistent chatters in there. He said that maybe you go to Joel more on the block. There's less movement. There's less requirement for the knee. And I get that. And I think that's true, right? That there's less stress on your lower body if you play on the block. But it's interesting, Marcus, I would say, that for most of Joel's career, up until 2021, he was on that low block, and he was the most efficient low block player in the league. But he realized, and he was very smart about this, that there's a limit to that. And he became an MVP when he and Doc Rivers stuck him on the free throw line, on the nail, and he started to cook from that area. And that's not to say that he would never post up in these last few years, but, it was easier to see the double teams. He could make those passes tonight when, defenders kind of sucked in and he had players open on the 3-point line. It's different than how he has played over the past few years when he has reached kind of the highs of his profession, frankly, as an individual player, at least in the regular season. But maybe that's the answer. Maybe it is more post-ups, go back to 2017, 2018 or whatever. But, everybody is screaming about the surgery and his comments in the chat. And I get it. Maybe if he does need the surgery, just go get it. But it's one of these things about this Sixer season when the team and the player are not really on the same page. So you have that. And in the middle of it, we just have like uninspiring play outside of Tyrese for a month and a half for the most part. And outside of Yabu, who certainly has his flaws. Like Yabu, I will say, I love Yabu. I'm going to criticize him a little bit tonight. Man, his defense as a 4, he was getting blown by Scottie Barnes a bunch tonight. It was not great. His minutes at the 5 with Tyrese, the Maxey only minutes were bad. I think Tyrese deserves most of the blame for that. But yeah, it's just like, it's unsatisfying play, unsatisfying answers, unsatisfying shots on the bench. It's it's tough.
So the one part about Embiid playing with his back to the basket, here's my one question that I don't think any of us has the answer to. How much does he feel comfortable back to the basket with that brace, with limiting his movement, with whatever drop step he might have to do? I don't know. Whatever it might be, I wonder how much that is impacting or would impact him trying to do that. And if that is again the case, then maybe he does not need to be on the floor if it's stopping him from being effective in another area.
I think in general, too, we talk about how slow the offense has been, as a team overall, like getting him on the block and just giving him 25 post-ups a game. I'm not sure that's the answer to improve that as well. I mean, look, I'd like to see it a little bit. And I will say, like, some of his best work was around the basket tonight. He had a couple. How many offensive rebounds did he finish with? I thought he did a nice job on the offensive glass tonight. He had five offensive rebounds. They didn't cash in all of those, but he created some extra open threes with just the volleyball plays and getting on the glass. So again, like he did a nice job in that regard. Yeah, it's I think the bummer of this, Devon, is that when you have an MVP level player and he's at the peak of his powers, it covers up for so much else on the team. And you can have wing depth that's a little slow and a little sluggish and be a little bit thin, but he's not that guy right now. He's just not, because of his physical attributes. And I don't even think he was bad for most of tonight's game with the physical attributes, but down the stretch, we saw a lot of indecision. He could have taken them home in that game, and, he just couldn't do it. Now I will say one of the positives before we get there, because this is the third thing I had up in my observations, is that the backup backcourt, it was like night and day compared to the rest of the season, which is the other bummer of this game, where you have, we've had Reggie Jackson and we've had Coach Kyle Lowry on the court for most of the year, just getting cardio and not really doing a lot out there. You get Jared Butler out there and Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes did not shoot the ball great from three, but those guys got some juice. Like those guys, Quentin Grimes can get out and transition. There's a little bit of athleticism, got up for that really nice dunk. You saw some good stuff there with them, and Jared Butler, like I think he's an NBA level scorer for a two-way guy. Like he can certainly operate in the pick and roll and make the right reads. And he did some decent stuff with Joel. The best unit of the night, I thought, was Joel, Yabu at the 4, Kelly at the 3, and then the 2 new guys in the backcourt. That is when they got back in the game after just an awful start from the starting line. Again, absolutely right? Awful. Yeah. And they were awful at the beginning of the third quarter too. Now, in fairness, they sub Grimes in for Edwards, so it's you can look at the other 4 guys. But that goes back to the lack of urgency that we're talking about, man. Like you just can you come out and just get up 10, 15 points and play like you mean it? They played with fire. They're always going to play with fire with this team right now. Like I just have zero belief that they're going to be able to blow people out with this team as currently instructed. But if you are looking at one positive tonight, thought Quentin Grimes and Jared Butler did a bunch of good things. I think they're going to be an upgrade on what you have watched off the bench in the backcourt for most of the season so far.
Definitely want to talk more about those two, because that was a positive. See how that translates going forward, especially tomorrow, since it's the last game for a while that we'll get to see them. Quentin Grimes and Jared Butler. We'll talk about them on the other side, give a little more thoughts. We have a few super chats that we need to get to. Jake, Marcus, and the other one was from Scott. We'll get to those when we come back. We'll take this quick break, come back, talk about the new guys, player of the game as well, and check in with the fellas from the arena. Sixers lose 106-103. And this is PHLY Sixers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. All right, and Barb is saying she's signing off. We'll see you later, Barb. Thanks. Be careful out there in the weather. But I do have to tell you about Bet365. I hope you cleaned up on Sunday when the Birds were taking on the Chiefs. They blew them out. It wasn't close, and it was trending that way early on. And with it, I hope with the live in-game betting that you took advantage of that and saw the game going in one direction. And when you did, you said, oh, man, I need to get in on this and start placing some wagers, because Bet365 has pioneered live in-game betting with over 90 million users worldwide, 780,000 events each year, which are live streamed. And it helps you overall because they offer the widest range of games and markets available in those live betting across 78 sports. And tonight, which was Tuesday, told you about it, Bet365 had an opportunity for you to place a qualifying parlay bet totaling $20 or more on Tuesday NBA games and get up to $25 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do, of course, apply. So if you want to get in that in the future, not next week because they will be off on Tuesday because of the break, download the app, use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. And I do have to tell you, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Win or lose, sign up, use the code again, PHLY365, deposit 10, place a $5 bet, get 150 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 plus and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And Devon, let's talk about our friends at Golden Nugget Jewelers, where I believe did Cuz have his show today? These days are running together, but I believe Cuz and VG and Andrew had their show today from Golden Nugget Jewelers, not too far from where I live in Center City. And for the past 30 years, Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location in the heart of Philadelphia. Customers across Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even Baltimore and New York City have come to Golden Nugget Jewelers to find that perfect engagement ring or wedding band. Their staff is highly trained and they are dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. Whatever you want, They will personalize it for you and to make sure that you, the customer, are satisfied. And look, Devon, I know there is an Eagles parade on Friday, but Valentine's Day is coming up. It's the end of the week. What better way to see your Valentine?
It's on Friday.
Than going to the Eagles parade with them.
Right.
But maybe afterwards, while you might have had a few beers in you and you go to a nice dinner afterwards. You know, it seems like a full day for everybody. Sixers are off, so everybody in the chat can take their time off from the basketball team. Anyway, Golden Nugget, they have a vast selection of engagement rings and wedding bands, along with high-end watches, fashion jewelry, and sparkling diamond necklaces, bracelets, earrings, and more. You can also receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Golden Nugget Jewelers, they have been a family-owned and operated business since 1987. So you know that they have a long track record of excellent customer service and success right there on 8th and Chestnut in Center City, Philadelphia. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com to learn more.
You deserve some better basketball too. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers.
Somebody a nice piece of jewelry instead of the basketball.
Presented by Bet365. Let's head on down to the arena and check in with Kyle Neubeck, joining us live from the arena, from the site of this tough one against the Toronto Raptors. And Kyle, I remember early in the year when, of course, we didn't know the season was going to turn out and trend in this direction, but I remember we had put one of the captions was WTF is going on. That was early in the season. We are 53 games in, and this is now 4 in a row, and you lose to the Raptors once again, shorthanded, like the Pistons and the Bucks were. Kyle, WTF is going on.
The chat is ready for this rant, by the way.
We know what's going on. They stink. It's just, you could try to dress it up a bunch of different ways, but like, when a team finds ways to lose against every type of team there is, shorthanded, full strength, good, bad, young, old, when they do it on both ends of the floor, right? We've been talking about they're a disaster defensively for a lot of this last month. Offense is picking up. Well, tonight they struggle to score in crunch time against the Toronto Raptors. Tyrese Maxey scores 5 total points. Paul George is a non-entity for long stretches of the game. When you're not good at anything, you're just a bad team. Like that, it doesn't matter what the names are. It doesn't matter what their talent level allegedly is. At the end of the day, as a team, this is what team sports are about. If you lose games, you're a bad team. They are a bad team. You lost to a bad team that's not even really trying to win games right now, although they've been playing a lot better as of late. Give Toronto some credit for picking it up some recently, but I think it says a lot more about this group, right? There's no plan, there's no structure, there's no cohesion. And for one of the only guys who played reasonably well tonight to take the final possession, the most important possession, get a pick and pop 3 where he is as wide open as you could have possibly hoped for and step out of it to dribble into traffic and turn the ball over. It's just like, you know what? Eventually you've earned your record, right? There's no more excuses about, the big 3 hasn't been healthy and this many games and blah, blah. You got to win. You got to put wins on the table. And they are just completely incapable of doing it for 17 different reasons. I'm tired of the excuses, man. Put up or shut up. And they're shutting up is exactly what they're doing right now.
Kyle, I mean, there's a lot of places we can go. I completely agree with everything you said. So there were a lot of people in the chat saying that Nick Nurse mentioned that Maxey might be dealing with an injury of some sort. Now that's kind of secondhand from the chat. Can you clear that up for us, what he said? And also just like, that was weird. Like Tyrese has been playing so great for 6 weeks now, and he was terrible tonight.
Yeah, so I think it was a little bit of just the coach looking for an out for a guy that, to your point, Rich, has been really good and has frankly been the guy taking all the bullets because the other 2 are not playing and whatnot. But I did ask Tyrese about it because Nurse said I have to check with him. I would have to imagine something's wrong that he would have such a a passive and ineffective game. And Tyrese gave a bit of a non-answer, but was like, there are no excuses. I didn't play well. I wasn't good enough. And he defaulted to the typical Tyrese of, I got to be more aggressive. That's on me. And I would agree with him there, right? Like if anything stood out from that game for me, he was unbelievably passive for most of that game. Like plays or possessions where he's got an open three against a busted zone, or he's got an opportunity to drive. I think probably the most striking thing is that he didn't really make much of an attempt to get to the basket tonight. And,
No.
you know, even when he's had unsuccessful games, can't get to the free throw line, can't make runners, floaters, whatever, you at least see the attempts are there, right? Like he gets there over and over again, and he's able to do it or wants to do it, and just none of that tonight. So it may be that it comes out at some point that he's got an issue that he's dealing with, but he was asked pretty directly and would not cop to anything. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. I do know he is looking forward to getting some R&R on the All-Star break, because I think you can see, and he has said many times, he's going to use that rest as well as he can, because he is tired.
It's been interesting just on that point before Devon asks his question. Like a couple years ago, do you remember Doc Rivers always used to say, we got to tell him, I think they called it blackout days. I don't even know why. I guess blackout curtains, because they just wanted to sleep all
just
day.
Get out of my face. Yeah.
Where basically they would just take the key to the gym away from him and just like, you need to rest. Like whatever you think about, working on your 3-pointer. No. Just laying in bed all day will work out. It seems like he's sort of volunteering, like, no, I understand that now. Like I'm going to do nothing tomorrow. It's been interesting to see him grow up in his 5th year and have that wise perspective and be like, yeah, I'm getting too old for this bleep now. So that's good.
Yeah. I will also be happy for Tyrese to get a little bit of rest and relaxation, because I think there's one thing all of us can agree on, regardless of how we feel about Tyrese and his contributions to the season. He has played a lot of minutes and has played hard for the vast majority of the season. Go rest on a beach somewhere, buddy.
And Kyle, yesterday on the show, we were talking about the differences in philosophy of the Eagles and the Sixers, and we were just incorporating the young guys, playing the young guys a little bit more. And while they were forced to do so tonight with their backcourt, you saw some pretty good things from both Butler and Grimes. What did you make of what their performance was tonight, even in this loss?
I said it in our Discord tonight, and so these are the takes you get when you sign up to be a PHLY diehard. I better never see Lowry on the floor again, as long as Jared Butler is healthy, because that is exactly what it should look like. Excuse me, when you have a guard who is a small guard but can actually move, right? Like it's a genuine shot creator, a guy who's making some good passes to guys to set people up, to get out in transition, score a little bit in transition, where it's not a catch and shoot 3 that you're just hoping to be an outlet for somebody. He was able to push the pace. He was able to beat guys off the dribble in the half court. Just everything you want out of that backup guard type of player. So really happy with him. And then Quentin Grimes had a tough night shooting the ball, but I think you can certainly see that's the outline of a guy that I think can be a really effective and impactful two-way guy for them. In fact, I think sooner rather than later should get a long, hard look as a starter. Now, who he starts next to will be a subject to some debate, but I think the ability to attack a closeout, he had some nice driving kick moments tonight. I'm a believer in the shot. That's probably the most projectable long-term skill. And then the athleticism has really popped, right? That one play where I think he beat Gradey Dick and then went up and punched one with one hand. That was really impressive. He was upset that he smoked the layup on the lob in transition, which I'm sure Devon was crestfallen about because he's the lob king of PHLY. But yeah, I'm very happy with those two, at least like what they should be able to bring going forward. And I think from what Darryl said at his presser after the deadline, at least from an organizational standpoint, they want to get younger. They want to get more athletic. Jared is not helping you with, he's not an elite athlete or anything, but he's also not an old man. And so he should be able to to help you in those backup groups and hopefully make life a little bit easier for Joel Embiid, who he'll spend most of his minutes next to.
Kyle, last one for me, and it's a bit more of a philosophical question that Devon and I were batting around. Because, I mean, we could just be like, yeah, Joel was bad in the last 4 minutes of that game. Yeah, he was bad. But instead of that, when you look at the offensive numbers for the big three, when they play together, they're bad. They are not very good. And that needs to be a three-man unit that is scoring points at a really high rate. Like, that is the blueprint is, yeah, sure, they should be pretty good defensively. They have PG and Embiid. But when you have that level of shooting, when you have that level of offensive firepower over the past years, you need to be able to score a bunch of points. And I think to your point tonight, they're not really good at anything because when all three of these guys play, they're pretty mediocre on offense. And we've been over at how bad they are on defense over the past month and a half. Offensively, it feels like to me that the whole is less than the sum of its parts, where it's a little too station to station, and for whatever reason, whatever they're doing, it's too slow, and they're not able to incorporate second actions, third actions, bench pieces, all that stuff. I guess, like, can you just riff on that a little bit and be like what is missing from this group right now?
So here's what I would say, and I wrote about this a little bit tonight, Rich. I think one thing that I've been starting to look at and think about is that I don't know that Nick Nurse has a good plan for off-ball shooters. Like, I don't think there's a lot of purposeful stuff being run for guys whose, one of their main strengths is this guy as a catch and shoot, spot up, movement shooter, however you want to phrase it. That's what they bring to the table. I don't see him extracting tons of value out of those guys. And so when Paul George's main role, when all three are on the floor, is going to be that, right? As someone who's a spot up target, a guy who you're going to move around as a chess piece around the floor, you have to have some ingenuity, right? Like I know I've been saying it all year. I want to see some elevator doors plays. I want to see some sets where you're like, it's not just, we see the flare screen to get him the shot on the left wing every once in a while. Certainly guys are going to get their shots within the flow of the offense when you get it to Joel at the nail. He gets double teamed and, swing, all that. But if you want guys like George and to a lesser extent Maxey, because he can hunt his own stuff off the dribble to get going, you have to manufacture that and you have to be purposeful about that early in the game. Like that is one of the keys to that happening. Otherwise, it's just going to turn into a situation where, maybe the ball is just playing through Joel for a long time, and maybe you accidentally get to some stuff for those guys, but it's not going to be early. It's going to be, it might be midway through the second quarter. It might be the second half by the time you do that. And at that point, it's too late, right? Because then you just look at the box score, the stat sheet, and say, well, we're just going to ride the hot hand up to this point. And in many cases, that'll be Joel or that'll be Tyrese because he's the guy who brings the ball up and has the ball in his hands and controls the offense. So I still think there needs to be some more deliberate sets, some more purpose into finding those guys as shooters early because let's be frank, the ball will find Joel. If Joel plays and he plays 30 plus minutes over the course of 48 minutes, he's not going to hide, right? He's not going to just blend into the background. He will get his touches and his opportunities. If he needs to take a step back and scale back in the first, let's say 6 to 8 minutes of the game, and you get the other guys going, and then you start feeding him, maybe that's the solution because I am in complete agreement with you, Rich. It is not sustainable for the offense to be as impotent as it often has been when those three are on the floor together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's whatever the answer is, because I'm sure it's probably multiple things. It's probably getting Joel back healthier and a little more explosive as well. That's the big thing they need to figure out in that building because when those three guys are available, you should be lighting the scoreboard up, and they are not doing that right now. In addition to playing crappy defense as well, so they're really nailing everything.
Yeah, and look, it's not just that. That's just one component of this big puzzle, right? It's sometimes Joel's got to play faster, so it's not sticking with him. Sometimes, like tonight, I put a lot on Tyrese. Like I didn't see from him the mentality to go out there, but like, and that was just such an outlier that you almost have to say, whatever, it's one game and you shrug it off. I think it's a much bigger problem that we're so deep into the season. I mean, we talked a little bit with Paul George in the locker room, and I straight up asked him, I was like, has it been tougher to acclimate with Joel than you expected coming in? And he said, yeah, like it's, we haven't had the time, and you can't really accelerate it without him being out there. The only way forward is more reps, more games. And I hate to break it to them, they got 29 games, 30 games left. You don't have a lot of time. It's got to happen now. So they better use the upcoming All-Star break I know they need to rest, but also, like, fellas, better get in the film room and better get in the gym a little bit and try to rep some stuff, because this is just ugly right now.
Sixers stink. All right, everybody. It's pretty simple. Kyle, thanks, man. Appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow for the pre and post as the Sixers take on the Brooklyn Nets for the final game of the first half of the season. 54 games. 54th game is tomorrow. We'll all be together for the pre and post tomorrow against the Nets. Kyle, be careful getting home. It has started, and it's starting to pile up out there. So you and Derek, be careful getting out of there.
I'm so happy to see you two at home, not having to drive. So Derek and I will trudge through the snow uphill both ways, just to give you guys the hard-hitting analysis from the arena.
Send us some pictures. Yes, some videos.
Will do. See you,
all
fellas.
right, man. See you. Make sure you read allphly.com to check out Kyle's recap. Derek will, of course, have a piece up shortly, and the newsletter from the best in the business, especially here in the city, Rich Hoffman, tomorrow. The thing, before we get to the super chats, we have a ton of them that we need to run through. Paul George admitting that, yeah, it has been tough trying to fit in with Joel. That's not nothing, man. It's not nothing. 13th game these guys have played together through a possible 53. They have played 40 games without those three guys stepping on the floor as a three-man unit.
Not the first time that he's had an interesting quote this year. He feels like the guy who you're not supposed to say something. It's one of those things where
I do appreciate the honesty, though, that we're
sure. It's the podcaster in him. Right?
It's not lying to us that we know we see this. There's a problem, and they need to figure it the hell out. And Kyle's right. They may not get in the gym. They're all going to go away. They're going to go to their whatever destinations they're going to. Even if they just talk on the phone, man, right? I know you want to get away from each other, but something needs to be discussed of, hey, man, listen, how can we, I don't mean the whole team. I mean those three. And maybe it's those two, George and Embiid, of, hey, how do we get this going? And then you need to, when Maxey's on the floor with George and Embiid's off the floor, how are we playing, man? How are we going to play? So
you've talked a lot about, you've talked a lot about the similarities and what they can learn from the Eagles. And I don't think the sports are that, one for one. One thing they could ask the Eagles is what the heck did you do on the bye week?
Yeah, they came back undefeated, right? Yeah, they lost the one game just because the main guy got hurt. So, you're absolutely right. All right, Rich, let's first tell everybody again. Make sure you sign up for the PHLY Die Hard program, the community. Go ahead and get in there. We have a special going on right now that in courtesy of the Philadelphia Eagles winning the bowl. We have a special going on right now. What is it, $48? That if it's still going on, maybe I need to check before I open my mouth, but allphly.com.
For a couple hours at least.
Sign up, become a diehard member. You get access to the Discord, the PHLY Discord. You get a free shirt. Rich has a great shirt on right now that is saying World Bleeping Champions. That's
the
right.
Sixers stink, but we're world champs.
And the other sport. So you can go get that at the All City Network store, or you can maybe get it for free when you sign up and become a diehard member. You got a few hours to get that. Go to store.allcitynetwork.com to get that shirt and more from the gold standard collection. And if you want some of the normal, regular, everyday stuff in there, I got my Scully on right now. If you would have ordered this before, you could wear it to the parade on Friday because it's going to be cold. And you would have been ready. But make sure you sign up to become a diehard member. Store.allcitynetwork.com to check out our gold standard apparel right now. Do that now. You won't be disappointed. All right, let's get to our super chats here. We got a ton. Let's start off with Jake M. Rich, I don't care if the Sixers win or lose, but that performance by Maxey was pathetic. Missing shots, turnovers are one thing. He looked like a middle school point guard, afraid to bring the ball up, flustered by pressure, etc. Jake M.
He was bad tonight. He was the main
bad.
reason they lost tonight.
He was bad.
Yeah, I know there are people saying that we're being too easy on him because of how he has played over the last 6 weeks. Yes, that was very weird. He did have the one turnover where he tried to, I guess, flip it back to somebody, and it was a backcourt violation. He always has this weird thing where he just gets the ball over at 17 seconds. You know, it's kind of a weird thing, especially for a fast guy too. Like James Harden getting it over at 17. Okay, he would have to run into a brick wall a couple times if a guy was playing defense on him. It feels like Maxey should show a little more urgency getting the ball over. But yeah, it was very weird. It's very weird. It's the exact opposite of what he has done over the past 6 weeks. It's just strange. Yeah,
it's not him. So I mean, you give him a little bit of an excuse, maybe give him a pass, but they need wins, man. Can't have these type of games. But again, he's the one that's been out there. So we making excuses for him, all that. I hear where people coming from that, but we also know that, damn, he's been carrying them on his back. He's been carrying them. All right, let's get to the next super chat where we go to our buddy Marcus Blastock, who has a couple. They need an internal reset. We agree with you there, Marcus, and some leadership development courses from the top down to the basketball court.
Look, and I think Marcus probably is referring to Daryl Morey's press conference on Friday, where he says, if you squint, you can see. You have to squint for a championship team. No, Daryl, close your eyes, man. It's over. Yeah. It's over. Yeah. For this season in particular. That's annoying. Like it's just annoying. It just feels like they're not in touch with reality right now.
No, Marcus continues. The front office, to your point, lacks essential communication skills and thinks their blank doesn't stink.
Didn't even see that one was coming, but yes, that was what Marcus was referring to.
That's exactly what Marcus is referring to. Marcus, thanks as always. We appreciate it. And both you and Jake with some good ones to start things off. Scott Galupo with the super chat. The Hospital Sixers led by Maxey was fun. Energy, effort was tremendous. The funk returned with Embiid and George, and that is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, they should, and to Scott's point, you know, that team, they hustled. They were terrible on defense. Like they were just giving up points at an insane rate. But the fact that Joel Embiid and Paul George can't seriously improve your team, that is a big problem, as Scott said. So,
yep. Appreciate it, Scott. Yep. Thanks for the super chat. Davon, Maxey bum game erases 17 games of 25 or more. Yeah,
well, it's just crazy to go from 25 plus to
5. To 5. He only took 9 shots. 9 shots. He missed weird shots, but he also only took 9 shots. So that's where the aggressiveness comes in, or lack of aggression that you guys talked about.
And Winona brings up the point that Kyle made too. He just wasn't getting downhill. He just wasn't getting into the paint, and you know, they were pressing up on him, and it's weird. I don't know.
It is. He
can get by anybody.
It is weird. He can. And remember when there was somewhere midway in the season, this whole season's been all the same, right? Just terrible. And we would talk about certain things with Maxey where we were complaining before he went on that run. And you said he was playing the best brand of basketball. And you're right that some people in the chat were saying, guys, he is logging a lot of minutes. He might be tired. So to the point of him snapping this one, not to the tune of 5 points and only 9 shots, but yeah, man, I mean, he might be really, really fatigued right now from trying to keep these guys above water. So
he admitted that he was a little bit tired. Was it the Heat game last week when he struggled?
Yeah.
Didn't struggle like this and still put up his points, but you know, it wasn't like the incredible basketball that he's been playing recently. But yeah, maybe it is getting him.
Yeah, maybe it is. Davon also continues with, I'll say it, Embiid has a losing style of basketball.
Well, I mean, some of the points that we were talking about where this offense is too slow, it's too methodical, it's too mechanical. Like, I think he takes a decent amount of blame there, and he needs to be the one to help figure it out. And for multiple years, for 6-7 years, he should have gotten all the credit for kind of how this team ran and how this team operated. But yeah, I agree. I don't like how they're playing offense right now. And he's part of it.
Yep.
So,
yep. Bernard McCoy, super chat. Rich. Oh, look at this, Rich. Make sure you want to read this one before I read it out loud, where he's talking about, did you dislike Hurts until he won the Super Bowl? Maxey is probably hurt, had a streak of 18
Bernard.
games of 25 plus. Really? Nah,
Bernard, he stunk tonight, man. I think you're allowed to say it. Like, he stunk tonight.
Yeah. There may be reasons behind it, and maybe reasons we don't know about it, but he wasn't good. He stunk. Yeah, he was.
Bernard,
he wasn't good.
And I like you, but I gotta say, like, this is one of the things that annoys me, because I feel like we have put the context of how well he has played recently. We have sung his praises a bunch, and we have kind of couched all of our comments tonight. He stunk tonight. It's okay. I don't expect him to keep stinking, but he was bad tonight, and that's okay. I mean, it's not okay for tonight, but I don't expect him to keep stinking. Moving on. That's all.
Yep.
We could say
Holy Cannoli checking in. Why were the big three winning with the original iteration of role players? KJ, Caleb, Yabu in the starting lineup. Guard position is improved now, but still not winning.
I think that's a small sample.
And those guys had a training camp. Whether Embiid was involved a lot, he was there in the training camp with those players. Some of these here, even with Justin Edwards wasn't supposed to be in this spot. And while he is standing in the corner and taking threes and things of that nature, he wasn't getting any of those reps with those guys. So Maxey is the one who's had a chance. Even Paul George with playing some of the others where it worked a little bit. Embiid, not so much, especially when the game slows down. We talk about the pace being different when Maxey was running things with the others. Now Embiid is back, and we've talked about that. Scott Sotan says nothing will change until Harris expresses what the winning culture must be and follows up. Not optimistic on that.
Sure.
He spins, but that doesn't mean that the culture is right.
And it's something that I have blamed him for over the years, where
you have
he kind of spends. I mean, he didn't really spend like last week, I would say, for instance.
No, not last week. I just mean
maybe
he'll go out and spend on the coach. He'll spend big money for the general manager, and
that's true.
He'll spend in the offseason to allow you to go get Paul George and trade for Jimmy Butler and pay Tobias Harris and JJ Redick and all that stuff. So he does do that, but there's been a lot of chaos on his watch, where there's been a bunch of crazy things that have happened, and really he and Joel have been the two constants within that. So they deserve some level of blame for both of those. I don't know how much, I'm not in that building, so I don't know exactly what it is, but I will say, Scott, for this team, like, something is wrong. Like, that, it's just like an unacceptable week from that man. Like, yeah, something.
Kyle has said this for months. They are just not a serious group right now, and it's very apparent. So yes, there is something wrong with them.
Will Sequoia says everyone at the parade on Friday can bump the new song, Hangry Birds. Sixers up, but love this pod. Oh, Sequoia official, thank you. Bump the new song, everybody.
Getting some advertisement with the super chat. We love it. Hangry Birds.
We always say you're not getting free advertising. He paid for it.
No, it wasn't free.
It wasn't free. Thank you, Will Sequoia. We appreciate it. Good luck with the song. And Davon closes us out super chat wise. Fun stat: 24 fast break points pre-Embiid, 13 after.
Is that just per game? They ran a little bit tonight. Like, they got some stops, and Grimes and Oubre got out there and transition a little bit. I get it. Yep. They also gave up 1 million points when he was out too. So I don't know. They stink, man. They stink.
Exactly. We know they stink. That's exactly what it is. All right, man. Let's get to the player of the game so we can get ready to let people go. It's already close to 11 o'clock, and people just want to be like, you know what? Forget this. Maybe you got to go put some salt down. You don't want it to get nasty outside. Player of the game, Joel. The numbers, 27, 10 of 13 from the free throw line, 12 boards, double-double nonetheless, 4 assists. And as Rich said, he played a decent game until the fourth quarter where things changed. Bad turnover with 8 seconds to play where he should have taken that shot or at least taken the hang dribble pull-up at the free throw line. Nonetheless, he had a really good game. The guys that we thought of, Quentin Grimes was the next best guy we thought of for player of the game for his performance tonight.
Grimes and Butler. Yeah.
And Butler. Yeah, and Butler. All right, our player of the game was brought to you by Rich.
Nobody.
No one. Exactly. All right, folks.
Oh, we got to get out of here.
We got to do this again tomorrow.
Out for Joe.
Yeah, and it's bad, and we need to do that again tomorrow. So we're gonna sign off. We're gonna get ready to do the world famous roll call to say thank you to everyone for hanging out with us here on this snowy February night, where the Eagles win the Super Bowl on Sunday, and vibes are great. And then we get this again, right? We get this again. It's just come on. All right, INS. Thank you, INS. Appreciate you hanging in. Jeff Stew, Yams, Igavini. What up, Igavini? We got PHLY, Rich P. What up, Rich? What up, Al? Whoa, Sequoia. We thank you for the super chat as well. Bucket Getter 215. Rich, I'm sure Bucket Getter 215 really got some buckets when he played. Maybe still getting buckets. Dennis Jones, Mellow 3-point, Kyle Wright. Val hanging out with us. Hey, Val. Good to see you, Val. B. Driz in the chat. What up, B. Driz? We had a lot of people. Tyrone M. Stacy Smith, K. Mel, Brownie, F. Chillaxon, Scott Sotan with the super chat as well. Noob, Phil Thomas, Andrew Sharp, Jeannie. Hey, Jeannie. Hey, Nona. We see you in there also. Brandon, Julian, Pyatt X. Not X-Man, Pyatt X. We appreciate it. Davon super chats as well. Robert S. Holy Cannoli with the super chat. Thank you. Rick M. Boots kicking it with us here tonight. Mr. B. Hanky trying to get a job. Hanky in the chat. You can come work with us, Hanky. We don't mind. Jack Reacher. Barb with us. She had to sign off early. Flavio Joe Tiz. Embiid of Joel. Rich in the chat. Embiid.
Saw that Joel. One. That was a new one for me.
Yeah, that was a good one. Absolutely.
Got a lot of our familiar faves in here tonight, but Embiid of Joel. New
Embiid of Joel. Neil Deaver here. X-Man. We didn't miss you, X. We were just pointing out the other one. What up, X? We see you in there. Prophet 1, SB Cole, Remo K, Randy. Who else? DC Marley. Sal in there as well. Sir Shmooey. We had JS, Doug Craig. Did I see AA Ron? AA Ron was in there. Philly 007, Money Mar, John Peace. What up, Peace? Scott, Iko, Jeff Chima, Jess with the Purple Heart, as always, kicking it with us as well. Tom Jackson, Mom, I saw Mom, Misremembered 72, and Whoa Sequoia. Official. The super chats once again. Whoa Sequoia official. Scott Sotan, Holy Cannoli, Davon Marcus, Jake M, and Scott Kalupa. We thank you all. We really appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you go like and subscribe our show tonight, please. We did a service after that game. We did a service. Like and subscribe for us on this one. And when you do, make sure you hit the bell icon to get the alerts for when it's showtime. And you know we truly appreciate it. Everybody, be careful out there in the snow. If it is snowing tomorrow as well, also be careful. Hope your kids get to stay home so they don't have to go to school and get up and deal with all that mess. We used to just be off. Now they have to go online and do all that stuff. My daughter's already ticked off about that. So everybody, it stinks. I hate it too. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll be back tomorrow. Sixers take on the Brooklyn Nets. Final game of the first half of the season. And we'll be together. Rich will be off, but we will be back with Derek and Kyle. So we want to say thanks to them for joining us from the arena. Bree will be with us, super producer Bree. Production excellence as always. Last minute changes where she had to make sure we were home and good to go. Thank you, Bree, for making the decision to make us
As
stay home
always.
as well. 7:30
call,
tip
Bree.
time. Yes, 7:30 tip time tomorrow, 7 o'clock pregame for myself, Bree, Derek, and Kyle as well. Rich, as always, my man, you know it's a blast to hang out with you and talking hoops. I wish it was, of course, under better terms like you had on Sunday, talking about a Super Bowl victory. If you missed that, everybody, go check out the post-game Sunday.
Yeah, Devon made an appearance.
I made an appearance. It was a fantastic show.
Kyle made an appearance.
You for, yeah, man. Brenna from the streets, you couldn't hear anything. It was great.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll be chatting with you, of course, in the Discord. Not me. I'll maybe throw a peace on in there and say what's up. But everybody else will. Make sure you go read Rich's newsletter tomorrow. Kyle's story at allphly.com. Go buy a shirt at store.allcitynetwork.com like Rich has on right now. We love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Everybody be safe. Have a good night. Get some rest. See ya.
See you guys.
We all silly like the mayor.